I have gone full goblin mode lately. I don't know what this video is gonna be. Hi, lovelies. Oh, the plans I had for the videos I was gonna start doing after that whole 10-year anniversary month celebration. Mmm. Yup. How are you doing? What have you been up to in the last 2 weeks? Huh. Let's see if I can remember. What have I been up to? I made this hoodie. I was not expecting to finish this when I did. I've been holding on to this striped wool for, well, at least a couple of months. I think I bought it back in the summer. I found this fabric from my favorite online fabric thrift store, sewthrifty.com. When I saw it originally online, it made me think of those blanket hoodies that were really popular among like surfers and stoners in the 90s. I always wanted one. I never got one for whatever reason. And yeah, so when I saw this fabric, I thought, I'm just going to make my own. Only problem is, when you're thrifting fabric, you get what you get. You don't have a say in how much, it's just whatever's available. And obviously, there wasn't enough to make a full hoodie with it. So I sat on the fabric for a little while until I came across this gorgeous flannelette, which I found from a local thrift store. It's not an exact match, but it coordinates well enough, I think. Super cute. I used my favorite pattern with basic square and rectangle shapes to give me this beautiful drop shoulder style, which is nice and roomy and comfortable. And I had plenty of this flannelette to make the sleeves, a lined kangaroo pouch, a lined hood, so it's nice and warm. And then I had enough of the striped fabric after I made the body to edge the hood and make some cuffs. It's close enough to the original inspiration that it fills that void that I had from not having one of those hoodies myself, but it also satisfies that creative need that I sometimes have for making, something my own, which I did both with the mix of fabrics as well as the color, because clearly I like purple. If you've been here before, you already know that. But yeah, I like this hoodie. It's super soft and super comfortable. It's very lightweight, but surprisingly warm considering how lightweight it is. And I've already worn it a handful of times, and I'm going to continue to wear it. This has quickly become a wardrobe staple for the cooler weather months. So yeah, there's that. I got a new tattoo. The fourth in total, third on this arm. It's still healing, so gotta moisturize. My skin is never softer than when I have a tattoo healing. Halloween decorations are still up. Who says spooky season ever has to end? Especially in the winter, honestly. We're in the season of hibernation and death and decay, and if that doesn't scream spooky, I don't know what does. So eventually I'll switch it out for festive, but for now, it's still spooky. I've also been reading a lot lately. Within the last 2 weeks alone, I started and finished the Screaming Staircase, book 1 of the Lockwood & Co. books. If you have not seen the Netflix adaptation, I don't know if it's still available. If it is, highly recommend. It ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger because season 1 doesn't go anywhere else. It was canceled after that, which, are we surprised? It's Netflix. They did a phenomenal job on that show, and it got, from everything I've heard, rave reviews, but apparently it either didn't make enough money or they just enjoy pissing everybody off. Probably a little of column A and a little of column B, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, if you have seen the first season, I highly recommend reading the books if you haven't read the books yet and have only watched the show. It's good. It was a very faithful adaptation, and I personally thoroughly enjoy that. I love having like author input and stuff, and sort of knowing how the characters are supposed to look, how the setting is supposed to look and feel, and how things are supposed to be pronounced when you go into the book, so that you're not just like, and they went through the forest of Trafalgar, you know. So yeah, I can, pronounce that in my head properly. And it's also pretty cool because I can sort of replay the scenes in my head as I'm reading. And there's a little bit of a comfort to that. I know some people don't like to read the book after they've watched something, or watch something after they've read the book, because you kind of know how it's going to play out. So it, kind of spoils the suspense of things. But there's enough detail in the book that wasn't included on the show that I think it's, if you want to delve deeper into the world of Lockwood & Co., I highly recommend reading the books, especially since they're all done. They're all out. The whole complete story. It's 5 books in total, and they're out. Oh, I love that. There is nothing that I hate more than getting into a book and finding out that there's more to come, but they haven't been published yet. Looking at you, Game of Thrones. Yeah, I'm not going to be reading that anytime soon, because to slog through that many books to get to the end, and there's still no word on whether 6 and 7 are coming out. By the time that does happen, if it does happen, then I'd have to go back and re-slog through, because I don't remember all that stuff. I don't have to worry about that with this series, because, and I bought them all. They're all right there on my bookshelf already. So once I finish with number 1, I can pick up number 2, and when I'm done number 2, I can pick up number 3, and when I'm done number 3, and so on and so forth, until the whole story has been told. Now that is a cozy read. Speaking of finishing book 1 and picking up book 2, there's book 2, The Whispering Skull. I'm about halfway through, which, again, if you know me, that's particularly impressive. To finish an entire book, plus a half a book, in about 2 weeks. Yeah, I've been struggling with brain fog for almost 10 years. And it gets bad. The focus just, months at a time, I won't be able to get through a page, let alone an entire book. So, a book and a half in 2 weeks, that is particularly impressive. I am also currently sitting in a Barbie wasteland. We are in the process of cleaning out the playroom. So, yeah, all the Barbie dolls are getting organized and sorted and packed up, and we're trying to find all the pieces, and that's what this is, just trying to find all the pieces. Amongst all the Barbies that we're cleaning up, we also have a collection of LOLs and Shopkins. Yes, my love of miniatures has rubbed off on at least my daughter. When I was going through that bin of Shopkins, I found a few pieces that intrigued me. What do you say we head down to the studio and see if I can finish a project for this video? So it's something other than just a ramble. Let's do that. Shopkins. There you can see the original colors. Little plastic toys. They look like this. Miniatures with faces. That's what these three started as. This is still a gingerbread house. This one is a birthday cake and a pumpkin. What I did is, on this one, I just sliced off the arms. On this one, I took off the feet and the arms, sanded this one down a little bit. And this one had substantial feet on the bottom. I just chopped that off. You can still see the face a little bit. I think I'm just going to leave that for now. And I'm obviously just giving those a white base coat so that I can go in and paint them the way I want them to look. The gingerbread house was awfully orange, and I'm going to paint it a more gingerbread color. I've decided that these are the perfect size to go with these Dollar Tree dolls. And I've previously customized the 4 that, as far as I know, are currently available. And Shopkins, as you can see, are pretty perfectly sized to go with these dolls. So I'm going to paint these up and make them look a little less like slightly demonic everyday items. And yeah, I have a cake stand that I think this cake will go on beautifully. This will be nice just on the table if I decide I want to decorate my little kitchen room for Christmas. And this is going to just look gorgeous in my kitchen room anyway, because it's already currently decorated with a kind of autumn Halloween vibe. So this could be an all-the-time decoration. Either way, I think they're going to be cute, and since my daughter was going to get rid of her Shopkins anyway, may as well give them some new life. So that's what I'm doing. I like that the Shopkins are, I don't know if they were intended to be pencil toppers, but they're basically pencil toppers. So this makes painting them really easy, because you just pop them on a pencil and then you can paint all the angles without worrying about getting your fingers in the paint. I'm just using a crappy paintbrush that came in one of my miniature kits. I don't remember which one. And just some regular white acrylic paint. And yeah, just going to town. If you have gesso, you can use gesso for something like this. My acrylic paint just happens to be really old and subsequently thickened, that it basically has the consistency now of gesso. That's why regular old acrylic paint works in this case. If you have a newer or a less expensive acrylic paint, like say something from the Dollar Tree, you might want to add some PVA glue with it to thicken it up and make sure that it really sticks to the plasticky material of the toy. Otherwise, you're going to have to put like 5 billion layers of paint on in order to get a good base coverage. To dry the Shopkins, I leave them on the pencil and just wedge the pencil into this cup that I have that has a fake candle in it. As you can see, they wedge nicely between the candle and the cup, so they stay upright, and the Shopkins can then dry without worrying about any of the paint coming off, because the surfaces that are painted aren't touching anything. And now we just let those dry, and then I'll come back later and put some color on them. The pumpkin gets a coat of orange, clearly, after the 2 base layers of white paint have dried. And painting these tiny little Shopkins was rather fiddly. I liked it though. I find working with miniatures with these teeny tiny little precise details to be meditative in a way. And I think that's kind of why I was drawn to this craft, because I was not planning on doing this until I started. I have a whole list of video ideas and projects I want to work on, and painting Shopkins was nowhere on the list. It wasn't even an idea that had been percolating in my noodle before I started. It just happened. Sometimes that's how creativity works. And yeah, as you can see, the cake got a layer of brown. I decided to go with chocolate. And then the gingerbread house got a layer of brown, which I decided was too dark. After, well, actually, I think it was about halfway through painting it that I decided it was too dark. But by then I was like, whatever. Maybe that will help to like deepen the color with the next coat. I don't know. I ended up going with a lighter tannish color, and that looks much nicer. That looks more like gingerbread. I was very surprised how quickly the cake got covered. Like that first layer was so streaky and thin. The second coat covered it completely up. It looks so good. It looked like a chocolate cake by the time I was finished that second layer. It looks like a layer of chocolate frosting. Then I went in and painted the really tiny details. Green, obviously, for the pumpkin. And I decided I wanted to make them look a little bit more realistic than the toys originally were. So for the gingerbread house, I went in with the original darker brown and darkened around the edges just with like a dry brushing. So, you dip in the paint and then wipe most of that off on a paper towel and then go in on the project. And I thought that sort of gave it depth and shadow and kind of like the browned edges of a cookie that had actually been baked. So, this would look like a gingerbread house that was actually cooked as opposed to a little plastic toy. It's the thought anyway. I also went in and anywhere that, like, all the decorations are raised, so anywhere that it was like a lower surface, like inside the windows, inside that heart, I gave it some shadow and depth as well with some of the dry brushing. Again, I really I really enjoy this process. I kind of like, especially like with this little house, this part is really messy, and on camera it might not look the greatest. Like as I'm looking at it now, I'm thinking, wow, that's kind of streaky and messy, but in person it does blend really nicely, and it kind of looks like a gingerbread house. Like it does kind of look like shadow and like that brownness that you get from cooking it. I don't know how to describe it. So I obviously decided on purple for the frosting, and it kind of looks like a little banner around the edge, but I decided to just paint the whole thing and make it look like frosting with like little drips or something. And yeah, we sped through a few steps and now straight onto the Mod Podge for everything. Basically, I just painted the top frosting of the cake purple and then the sign teal. And I went in with some more detail, highlights, and shading, and
stuff like that before Mod Podging everything. And then I just coated it all in the matte Mod Podge because I didn't want it to look shiny. I don't want these to look like ceramic or plastic figures. I want them to look, kind of real-ish, even though it's going in a dollhouse, which doesn't really look real. But anyway, you get the point. On to the reveal.
I haven't done anything else to the house, and I'm not going to in this video because I don't just want to throw crap together for the sake of throwing crap together. There's the little birthday cake on the cake stand. It looks so cute. I am thrilled with how that one came out. So I went ahead and lightened up the purple just a touch. I wanted it to stand out from the chocolate. And after painting the happy birthday, I decided that was too dark. So I went ahead and gave it a lighter coat as well. And then went in and wrote the happy birthday in a darker shade of the same color, that sort of aqua teal. And yes, I did freehand the happy birthday. It is, you can see on both sides, it is a little bit raised. You can see that the letters are a little bit higher than the surface of the sign. So I did have a guide to follow to kind of draw on. It was still tricky though, and I am very happy with how that turned out. I'm thinking now I might have to make some streamers or a fancy tablecloth, maybe some party hats or something, and then pose these girls for my birthday. Utilizing the birthday cake. We'll see. I'm totally going to do that though. As for the little pumpkin, clearly it fits in beautifully with our already kind of autumnal themed kitchen. That's already where the decorations are going, so I don't think that pumpkin is going to look out of place if I just leave it in there all the time. I am super pleased with how this little pumpkin turned out. I went ahead off camera and dry brushed some red orange in the grooves to give a little bit of shadow, and then dry brushed some yellow orange on the bumps to give some highlight. I went in with a pale green, did a little bit of dry brushing on the leaf to give it some texture, and then painted the vine, the spine of the leaf, and dry brushed a little bit of the stem. I did end up leaving the nose and the mouth, so when you hold the pumpkin like this, it does look a little creepy. When you set it down, you don't really notice it. I think that turned out so cute and looks surprisingly realistic. So that's what I've been up to. Simultaneously, a whole lot of nothing and more than I realized. And you know what? That's okay. It doesn't always have to be extensive projects and grand gestures and exciting adventures. And sometimes all we need to do is just be. Especially now as we head into hibernation season. If you're accomplishing a lot right now, good for you. If you don't have it in you to accomplish much right now, good for you. It's okay. It doesn't matter either way. Do whatever you are capable of doing in the moment and allow yourself the grace to just let everything else go until you can do it. Because it will come eventually. That's it for this interesting little video. And I will see you in the next one. And until then, I hope that you stay fabulous. I hope you stay safe. I hope that you know that you're loved. And I hope I see you in the next one. Until then, bye.